So my name is Arno, DJ, music producer. First of all, I'm just a music lover and interested in how you put the music together. Back then you would have places where you could rent movies on VHS tape. That was before DVD. They always had like a big wall, like a section with CDs as well. So my dad would have to take me. I would like randomly pick some CDs that were on the wall and I would go back home listening to them, putting my favorite tracks on tapes. Then when I was 12 or 13, my dad took me on a holiday to Morocco, Agadir. It was like a club hotel, so basically you don't really leave the club that much, and there's all kinds of stuff, kids animation programs, food all day long. Also a little discotheque, like a little club they had. And I was 12 at around the time, so I would go with my dad when it was early and empty. And so I would go and there was this DJ playing like Eurodance kind of music, like Too Unlimited, stuff like this. But he was mixing it really well and I was really intrigued. And from this day on I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. So basically since that very day I followed my goal or dream or whatever to play music. And the first music I really fell in love with was hip-hop, rap music, back then in the golden era, you would say. I got my first turntables, but I only had money for the cheap versions, so they were like belts, not like full-on, not the right motor to drive them. So you try to scratch, it was like, would take like half a minute to get back and was like, ah shit, this is not gonna work, so I cannot even scratch. I was always more interested in the instrumentals, like in the music, really. I didn't understand even the lyrics back then. And I was always interested by bass, always listened to bass heavy stuff. Then there was a friend of mine who was a drum bass DJ, and one day he came and he said like, yeah, let's exchange some records. I give you like 20 drum bass records and you give me 20 hip hop records. So we did this and he came and I was not even mixing because I didn't even know how to mix properly. That was a difference. Back then there was no internet, like now all the information is one click away, but back then you had to like, I don't know, go somewhere, see how they're doing it and all these things. So my friend came in and was like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? I was doing like these short cuts and no mixing, nothing. I was like, you're not even mixing. And he explained me like counting on the beat and explaining me the basics of rhythm, understanding how these things work. And he showed me how to mix records. And since that day I was like a crazy person, like always after school just standing there 8 hours mixing tapes. One of the biggest moments also was when I went in 1996 or something in Frankfurt to a party, and it was the beginnings of early drum bass, like more like jungle breakbeats kind of stuff with heavy sub bass, just like a little drum loop and like the heaviest bass you can imagine. It was a crazy sound system, it was like a physical experience, because sometimes these days maybe the sound is okay, but that you can really feel it and it's like tickling you in the stomach. It doesn't happen that often, to be honest. But this was like the sub bass was going through your body a lot, and I will never forget this because then I was like, wow, it was an insane, like life-changing experience. So then I started to buy and play drum bass records. It was only later when I started working at Freebase Records and I got to know all the guys from there that I got more interested in house and techno. For us the thing was we were like really active within the drum bass scene. We did like all kinds of stuff. We had a radio show, we were running a label, Art of Rolling Records, we did. And also I was part of a pretty respected drum and bass crew called Precision Task Force. Precision was the label and Precision Task Force were the DJs presenting the label. We worked a lot and we did many things, like as I said, a radio show. We even had a TV show back then on like an open TV channel. You could just go there and say, hey, I want to make a TV show. You would learn the basic cutting stuff and you could rent cameras and everything. So we would also do parties. So when our favorite drum bass DJs would come, like DJ Peche, for example, like a drum bass old school legend, we would ask him to film a little set. Like, I mean, now you have it, it's quite normal, but back then there were not so many formats like this. So we had our club nights, radio show, TV show, but it was super hard if you were outside of the UK to make things happen, because they would really keep it kind of an inner circle somehow. It was tough because we put a lot of energy and hard work, and the scene was not like, it would go like more down than grow at one point. And I mean, everything I do, first I do it for myself, but I believe that if you put a lot of energy, work hard and soul into it, it's an exchange of energy, and at one point if there's not much coming back, it wears you out. And it got a little bit frustrating. I was making music at the time already, so I just lowered the tempo from 175 to 125. Just started messing around because I worked at Freebase Records, which is one of the most influential record shops, I would say, probably in Germany. A shop that everyone knows. Like every Friday you would have Ricardo, Sven, Richie coming in buying records, and it was like one of the things that is a bit sad these days, because it was like a social meeting point where you couldn't see people, you would only see in the club, or you would see what kind of records they're buying and all these things. So when I worked there, I used to run the drum bass section. It was in the basement, no daylight for the drum bass guys. I would share it with two other guys doing the hip hop section, and my friend Miguel and me, we took care of the drum bass section. Upstairs was like a huge space for house and techno, and there were all the guys coming. So of course, even to go to the bathroom, you had to go upstairs, and then I would listen to stuff. I was like, I really like this. And there were guys like Dorian Pike, for example, or Meat, Federico Molinari, Vera, all these people. And one day, Dorian, I think it was, he took me like, come on, I'm playing at the party, you should join me. The drum bass we played, we were young. For us it was like almost like punk. It was always like full on, like a friend of mine scratching, 2 MCs, like a lot, like in your face. And then I went to Robert Johnson and I went to this party. The DJ were like, I can't remember who it was, but it was keeping it like really on the low. At 7 in the morning, like some little hi-hat comes in and everybody goes crazy. And I remember I was like, oh shit, that is actually nice. I enjoy that. Nothing against drum bass, I love drum bass, but it was always like very intense, and it's a lot like depending on the drop, like big breaks, and then everybody goes crazy, and then okay, waiting for the next drop. The energy level is so high that in my experience, it can only last so long. I burned like 3 CDs, and back then also Robert Johnson, it's a place that had a big impact on me. I learned a lot, and it's like maybe the most influential place, I think, for me. So there were these groove parties. Groove magazine is a famous magazine for electronic music. Now it's a bit sad. I think the state for music journalism is pretty tough anyways, because it was like a really nice magazine. Then they had to stop the print version because who buys magazines these days? And now they're even struggling to continue the online version of it, which is very sad. I think as much as I love the internet, people are really used to shit being for free, you know, and that is a problem, because if you want to do something nice with a certain level of quality to it, it takes a lot of time, and we all have to eat. So, you know, I mean, it's cool if you can just download all your stuff, or you can get all the infos for free, but I think if you enjoy and you want to support high quality content, you should also reach into your pocket a little bit, you know. This magazine had a party like, I don't know, once a year or something at Robert Johnson. It was one of the biggest nights in the year always. They had like 3 floors and all our favorite DJs were playing. Burned 3 CDs with the few tracks that I made, and I was just like, I don't know, fearless, and gave them to some of the DJs. And it was always my dream, of course, to do something with music, but it never would pay any bills for me. So one day I was at work, and then my phone rings, and it was DJ T from Get Physical. He was like, hey man, I listened to this, I found this CD with your phone number on it, and the stuff is amazing. It's like super nice Berlin, it's like ketamine house. It's like, what the fuck, I didn't even know what ketamine is, you know. I was like, yeah man, for sure man. I was just excited that someone would like call even back, because I just gave this random CD, and 3 months later the guy calls me. And so I got in touch with them, and they were also the ones to release my first house and techno stuff. Like, the project was called Einzelkind. It was with my friend Miguel Ayala and me back then. I started first alone, but then we did it together. He was like far more experienced when it comes to production and stuff. From him I learned like a lot, because he was like, come on, let's make some music. Back then you would need like an actual sampler and hardware stuff. It was not so advanced software technology. When I was 16, I would just go everywhere and ask if I could play music, just like this, like ruthless somehow. And also at the record shop, I would be there every Tuesday, every Friday. The new releases would arrive for 3 to 5 hours hanging out, listening to every new record that came in. And so I think I must have been pretty annoying for maybe Miguel, because he was working there already. So I was just there breaking his balls from every Tuesday, every Friday for several hours. Like, are the new records there? Like, come on, give me everything, show me the test pressings. You would have to look much more for the music. Now with the internet, there's so much thrown in your face that it's tough to like filter it out. Back then you would really have to search. You still have that for sure, but now everything's just one click away, which is nice. Also, when I want to find out about something, sometimes I think the mystery gets lost a little bit. There, Miguel Ayala, we became friends. He was also part of this precision task force as a DJ. He just said, okay, here, now you can program a bass line. Just in the piano, I was like, I was like also shy a little bit because I had no idea, and it was also a little bit more complicated. But he was nice, and it seems like he saw also maybe something in me that he kept pushing me, and we made some records together. And yeah, also this Einzelkind project we did together for a few years, but he got tired after a while. He said, you know what, I don't want to sit in this basement anymore listening to the same loops for 8 hours. And fair enough, I still don't think there's not too many things that give me more joy than still being in it's not a basement, which is good, but still listening to the same loop. Maybe not for 8, I tried to get it done in 4 maybe hours. Einzelkind was a project of 2. I kept the name for a while, was not feeling it anymore. First it was something that we began together, and also I was tired somehow of the name. At this point I thought, like, I don't really need like an artist name. This is just me, it's what I do every day. So I just change it to my real name. I enjoy it when there's like also like a mystery or something. Maybe I buy a record and I see the name, and 2 years later I found out it's also the guy that did this, you know. And Hot City Orchestra is just a collaboration with my friend Simon Birkenfeld. We went to the same school together. He got out of music for a while, but then he got like thirsty again, and when he stopped making music it was still mostly hardware. So after 5 years he was like, yeah, you know, I miss something, I want to make music. So I was like, okay, you download Ableton Live demo version and then we talk again. And then his mind was blown, because for things you would need like hours, you could just like put together in a short amount of time. So he would send me stuff, I would finish it, and yeah, we had quite a few releases together, and even like released an ambient album together. So yeah, he's one of my best friends also. For me, it really took a while. I spent like a lot of time with drum bass. That was like, I spent like proper 10 years to get like really deep into it, and I was like a maniac, buying and finding records, making records and all these things. Somehow by accident I released these 2 house records, and I was pretty fast of finding like a booking agency myself, because I thought that would be like a logical step if you have some releases to have someone help you get bookings. And all of a sudden I had bookings in Mexico or in like different places, and that was, back then I was a toy, to be honest. Like, I had no musical background or whatever, so I would make like these tracks. Some of them are still okay, some of them now I think like, okay, it's part of my story, but I will not touch them again. And I just went to the shop, bought some new records, but I had no background, no knowledge whatsoever. So back then I was a horrible DJ for sure. I mean, I knew how to mix. If you can mix drum bass properly, you can mix whatever, but mixing only doesn't make you a good DJ. To really understand the music, you should do your homework and go back and see where it came from. That for me, I think it's quite necessary to really understand, and also to have like a range of music that you're able to play. You have to know a little bit about the different times, like where it came from, and then that is the only way, I think, to do it proper. So it took me a few years. In the beginning I was just buying the hottest, latest records and putting them together in some random way. And I will never forget, actually I still want to thank the guy, thank him right now. I had a gig and my friend sent his friend from the record shop to listen to me, and I played there and I was playing. I thought like, yeah, this is cool, I got this. And then after my gig the guy was like, man, that really sucked. That was like proper shit. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I was like, no man, this is like, no. I really like you, but this is not, no, it's not proper what you're doing. And I was shocked a little bit, of course, but it was really nice because the guy, a few weeks later, he sent me like a little post package, Maurizio M5, some house classics, I think some Ron Trent or Chez Damier. Basically essential stuff. You go to school and then this is like first or second grade. This is the stuff you have to listen to understand. Or you only listen to what is being made now, you don't get the whole picture, like for sure not. One track that I remember for sure, for example, was like John Tejada, Time Bomb. Back then we had like an amazing club culture in Frankfurt. Crazy when you compare it to now, because now there's not so much left. It was a time when Monza Club was pretty big in Frankfurt. So this is where I went also with Dorian and DJ Meat and DJ T, they were playing there a lot. And this was like the prime time for this John Tejada, Time Bomb and this housey kind of vibe. It was like a proper house club, I would say. That for sure was a big influence, and the stuff that Dorian, he still is to this day, the stuff they were playing back in the day. But what really, one of the biggest influences for sure is my partner Frost, that I'm running Pressure Traxx with. He's like a crazy, he's a techno Wikipedia really, and he was there from the beginning. When I was spending my time with drum and bass, he was like fully focused already on house and techno. He would go to all the love parades and big parties that you can. He was also at Sunwaves in the early days. And he has a profound knowledge of electronic music, and still to this day he impacts me a lot and shows me a lot of amazing music that without him I would not have found. So thank you for that. This guy, Phase 2, Stefan, at one point he would sell his whole record collection. And he was also one that was like really digging from the 90s. So there was everything from like Chicago house to techno stuff. I asked him if I could be the guy going through the collection, take what I want for a nice price, sort through what is maybe rubbish or make a list with the expensive records. And he agreed, and then I bought like, I don't know how many records it was, maybe 1,000 or 2,000. And that was really like somehow the essence of also a golden period in electronic music. So that for sure was a changing point for me, because then I had access to what was already filtered through, and I kept and still have most of these records that I bought back then. Frosty and me, we are also ravers, first of all, like music lovers. That's the foundation of everything. We got to know each other, spent many moments together, many funny moments that we will never forget. He was crazy with the 303, like he's a genius at programming 303 patterns, and for the first Pressure Traxx he just sent me this 303 pattern, and I had an idea, so he sent me the pattern and I would like build the whole track around. I was always a do-it-yourself kind of guy. I was always interested in the process, how you press a record, how to run a label. I think if you want to run a label, it's only as good as the weakest link. So you should not try to save money when it comes to mastering, artwork, the cut, because to make a record is really like rocket science, and a record is something that is there till eternity, maybe. We were at Christian Burkhart's studio, who's also a good friend of us, and we brought a 303 again. Frosty had some patterns programmed, and we wanted to make a track together, Christian Burkhardt, Frosty and me. So I had some like samples from some Wu-Tang Clan. Christian would come with the drum pattern and some stuff. He said like, okay guys, we can make the track, but in 2 hours I have to meet with my girlfriend in the city. So we're like making fun of him, of course, and then we came with like, okay, Pressure Traxx and stuff like this. And then we're like, okay, Pressure Traxx, this is actually kind of nice. So that was how we had the name in the end of the day. Because so thank you Pia for putting pressure on Christian, because otherwise we would not have the name maybe today. There's nothing that gives me more joy than start with a blank piece of paper and then create something and then listening to it and enjoying it. Back in the days at 2012, the sound that we had, it was not so much of this around with like these more like acid lines and a bit more, I mean now everything is like banging a lot, but back then it was kind of fresh. Somehow it really sparked an interest fast. All the releases are basically our friends. They just came together in a very natural way. Also how we met Suchiu, who is like a really good friend of mine and for me one incredible DJ, one of the best DJs I know, and also the music is insane. Anyway, this friend Patricia was friends with Suchiu. Can I show you some tracks of my friend maybe? And we're like, yeah, please. And there was like all these tracks, Dosintors, Gloria from Estonia, all these like for me like outstanding, and also genre defining music, definitely. It was fresh and unheard of. I mean, it's minimal music in a way, but with a certain twist, and it still has this raw feeling. I still enjoy it like a lot. She gave us these tracks and I was like blowing away that like, this guy, I never heard of him. And even in Romania, he was like, maybe some people knew, but he was like pretty unknown at the time. And also he told us it was also not easy to, I don't think it's easy now, but it was also not easy to put your foot in the door. So I'm like really happy that we kind of grew together to where we are right now, because now I guess everyone should know who he is. It's much more, and also not so much about the skills, it's more about the skill, how you can present yourself. And this is something I personally struggle with, and I know many other artists do as well. Now I know much more what I'm doing. Still, I'm questioning myself a lot. More maybe than back then. Maybe back then I was just like young, also a bit maybe ignorant. I thought like, yeah, cool, I got this. This is nice. But then I got like a proper like a reality check, and it also took some time. Okay, wow, there's so much more. Find your language, and then you can hopefully say what you want to say in a better way. In Berlin, there are still many record shops. Latitude, Bikini Wax, Kimchi Records. There you can still go and you can share this experience, and maybe go with friends and you find something and you show, hey, I just listened to this, check it out. The good thing also with the internet, you have your little groups where you can maybe share stuff. I think one of the biggest challenges is to not be influenced too much by all the endless information that is throwing at you these days. Maybe you see all these like little 30 seconds clips of someone like playing a track and everybody goes crazy, but that is not really the art form of DJing, because how much does it tell you if someone is able to play a so-called banger and people are screaming? This is something that almost everyone can do. I'm not a fan of music that puts too much already on you. Like, I don't like stuff that is, now it gets very emotional. I like music that gives you still the chance to put your own thoughts and interpretations and ideas at what is happening. Maybe I play a track and there's like little melody, and for someone maybe it's going to be melancholic, or it's going to be happy or euphoric. Breaks, I mean, now all the big DJs, they have this like little machine that makes like fake drum rolls and a lot of effects, and it's like, it's not real in a way, and you're just waiting for the next big bang. But what I do is kind of the opposite. It's not about the next big bang, but about the journey, so to say. Everything changed when I had a daughter. I have a 4.5-year-old daughter now. Back then, life is only about yourself. Only when you have a child, nothing is about you for a moment. And I think that is a very nice experience also, because it puts everything into perspective. All the little things that you would maybe worry about or you think are so important, it shows you that they're actually not. Before we had our daughter, we would like have a nice dinner together, then like, okay, open a bottle of wine, yeah, and then I would go to the studio, she would work on some photography, I would like have a little idea, she would come to the studio, I was like, wow, that's amazing what you're doing. Then she showed me some pictures, and all of a sudden it was the next day, and we would go to bed at 11 a.m. but it was fine, nobody gave a shit, and maybe some of the best ideas, they came at 4:30 at night. And now I have to be creative on the spot a little bit, which is not easy at times, but I think it's something that you can really learn. The nighttime has a special thing to it. I think it's also like, you know, maybe I'm sitting here alone, most people are sleeping. It has like this mysterious kind of special agent kind of vibe going on. And it can really give you some great ideas. Never really had a problem creating something. I never had like a writer's block or something like this. There's so much you can do in the studio. Sometimes you will not even write a track, but you can mess with a new synthesizer, you can learn a new program, you can go through your samples, organize something, trying to mess with the effect unit or something. There's always something to do, and you should try not to pressure yourself if nothing happens. There's like certain times I can stay up as long as I want, Tomorrow at 7, it's gonna be, Papa, it's time for breakfast and I want to play something now, and then you have to show up. But also my daughter is like an endless fountain of joy. Don't have like big mood swings or something, but if maybe sometimes you have a day that is not the best day, but if you come home and there's your little daughter with open arms, how can you feel bad, you know? And the same goes for music. It can lift my spirit. Like, it's crazy how music is the only thing that lifts up my spirit. Same goes for my child as well, so yeah. Everyone I know is more or less addicted to it to a certain extent. It is tough sometimes when I watch like videos now of big parties and people like try to capture this moment with their phone. I mean, I sometimes understand because you think you're gonna catch this like special moment, but it is also a bit sad. The good thing is that many of these clubs already have like a phone ban on the dance floor. So especially in Berlin, most of the clubs, when you get in, they will tape your phone camera. I do think that it can be a problem if people are like focused too much on capturing the moment instead of living it, you know, and you see that a lot actually these days. Soon iPhone 15 is coming and then you throw the shit in the basement and you will never see your little video you took from the party last week, you know, so yeah. So I would not say that I came here for the golden era, but I had like amazing experience. And when I came there for the first time, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was like just an old house with all these different rooms, like carpets, like a bed. Like in Frankfurt, the fire department would come, like, what the fuck, it's like a carpet in the club, are you crazy? But Berlin was like more free, and I moved because of love. Many friends were already like asking me when you're gonna come to Berlin, but for me there was no reason really. And then I thought, okay, now maybe that's a good sign, and I'm also happy because definitely it brought like a super fresh input. It's still like a mecca for creative people and for electronic music lovers, and here I made like very good friendships and met a lot of people that also do and love what I do, and so I'm happy that I came here. One of our biggest records was the Crash Course in Science with the Vida Lobos remixes, and Frosty and me also did like one edit of the track. Electro-punky thing that was just insane. And I heard this track and I remember I said to Frosty, Ricardo would really like this. Yeah, come on, like, the guys, they will not even answer or something. But also this is my advice. You didn't ask for advice, you still get it. That if you have an idea, just try to make it happen, no matter what anyone says. If you have like a feeling, or as soon as you have an idea and you want to push through, just do it. The worst thing can happen that it doesn't happen. So we found out like some contact of this band, we wrote them, and immediately they answered, and they even had all the single files from the track from '82. And so we showed the track to Ricardo. He liked it a lot, as I thought, and he immediately agreed to do the remix. And not even that, he said like, why don't you come to Berlin? We do the remix together. But other than that, most of the releases came really, really natural, that we knew the artists before. There were like a few exceptions, for example, Punk Motherfucker from Transparent Sound. Someone makes a piece of music like this, they cannot be an asshole, really. You cannot be a wanker if you make Punk Motherfucker. That's what I think, and he's definitely not. Funnily enough, we never released something when somebody approached us and said, hey, I think I have something for Pressure Traxx. Actually, that never worked. So my advice is maybe send us the tracks that you don't think they're for Pressure Traxx. No, maybe that's also wrong, but the label only came together because of Frosty and me. It was always the thing, if we both agree immediately that this is a track for the label, then we do it. For us, the after-hour culture is a really important part of what we do. There were many sessions where we would gather after the club with like 5-10 artists, everyone showing their new stuff, and then you're like, oh, wait a second, what's this? So, yeah, I made this like yesterday. You're like, okay, that's for me, my friend. So this is how many of these things happened. Because also I do this because I love it, so I don't want to deal with people that take too much energy. I think we're pretty chill, and I want to work with people that are like also relaxed about how things work. Nobody's getting rich with what we're doing, so we don't need some weird attitude. I'm this kind of guy, I will still look for a kick drum after 10 years. I have other friends that have 5 kick drums, and these are the 5 kick drums they have. And they work, which is fine, it saves a lot of time. I was obsessed with having everything connected, like every piece of gear that I have had to be MIDI synced, and then I would play something here, put a hi-hat here, a kick there. But for me now, I like to focus more on less and try to get more results with that. But I mean, sometimes I sit in the bed with my computer and I'm messing around with a bunch of samples and it sounds great. At the end of the day, the result is all that matters. And I know there have been some weird, like some tech house hits back in the days, and they were like, yeah, he just used 4 samples from a sample bank. Well, whatever, he put it together the right way. It's a hit. I don't hate it, you know. But if I listen to a tune, the track is dope or it's not. There's only 2 genres, like dope or not, at the end of the day, so yeah. Basically focusing on putting out a lot of music. This is my main focus at the moment, because the thing is, I'm making my main income with DJ gigs, but DJ gigs are depending a lot of trends, you know, and trends always go in waves. And so if the music that you are playing is not the hot stuff of the moment, it can be really tough. I speak for myself and many other artists, but what are the options? I cannot just switch my style like left and right every few months, like a pair of underwear. Maybe should change a bit more often than every few months, but you know where I'm going with this. Really want to get back into now to make some proper mixtapes, because this is like an important part of the culture. And even though now it's like flooded because SoundCloud is, you don't even know where to start or where to end, but it's still like a nice way to showcase where you're at as an artist. Yeah, I love this shit. I love everything about it. I love the culture. I love going out, and I love creating music, playing music, giving other people the chance to release on the label. For me, still, of all the art forms, I think this music, a few hundred or even a few thousand people that come together peacefully to like dance to the same rhythm, is still pretty amazing. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are or from which way of life you're coming, but it's a very powerful thing that we're all playing our little part in, and I'm happy to participate in it still to this day. There's amazing stuff to find anywhere. Minimal music, techno music, banging stuff. So just go and find your voice as an artist and try not to compare yourself too much what is going on out there. Amen. Ciao now.